Welcome to Tech Simplicity's What the F series, where we break down complex computer topics in an easy to understand way and as fast as possible to help you grow your skill set as a computer enthusiast or a technician. What's going on, everyone? In this video, I'm going to be explaining what a static IP address is and how it's most often used. That said, let's jump straight into it. A static IP address is literally as it sounds. It's an address that sticks and doesn't change. Once a device is assigned a static IP address, that address usually stays with that device until it is either retired, breaks, or your internal network infrastructure changes. Static IP addresses are generally used by enterprise-grade servers, switches, firewalls, etc., but it can also be used in a home environment as well. As a note, if you are assigning a static IP address manually, you must do it outside of your network's DHCP range. There are such things as DHCP reservations, but these are different from traditional static IP addresses that are assigned manually. On top of this, a static IP address can be assigned to an internet service provider customer, typically in the form of a business and at a greater expense. In other words, if you visit google.com and search "what is my IP address" today from your home, you will see your public IP. Then if you wait a year and search the same thing again, that public IP address that your ISP gave you a year ago could change. This is because most residential homes are leased a public IP address from the ISP's DHCP pool of available addresses. Much like leasing a car, you can have it for a while, but eventually you have to give it back and you get another one. But if you pay for a static IP address from your ISP, then that address will remain the same until you stop paying for that service. Static IP addresses may also be in the form of either IPv4 or IPv6, though in today's standards, IPv4 is much more common. Eventually, though, we will run out of IPv4 addresses completely, and IPv6 will then become the new standard. And the way that IPv6 was created will allow for more than 340 trillion addresses to be distributed. That means that every device in the world, no matter how important it is or how little of importance it holds, will be able to have its own unique address. But we're not at that point yet. Anyway, if there's some main points to take away from this breakdown, it would be these. Number 1, static IP addresses never change. Number 2, static IP addresses, if assigned within your network, must be out of your DHCP pool range. Number 3, static IP addresses are different than DHCP reservations. Number 4, public static IP addresses exist and can be obtained by contacting your ISP and paying a larger sum of money each month. Number 5, static IP addresses can be both IPv4 and IPv6. There's a lot more that you can learn about static IP addresses, but when you boil it all down, these 5 facts are really the bread and butter of pretty much any interaction that you'll have with a static IP address. Anyway, I hope you guys found this video helpful. If you did, feel free to subscribe for future content, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Until next time.